All right, thank you guys so much for joining me. So for today's movement tutorial, I wanted to kind of really break down the approach that we choose to teach the handstand to beginners, and then the why behind it. Up until this point on this Patreon account, there's probably 5, maybe even 6, who knows, different tutorials, just looking at different aspects of the handstand, showing you a bunch of different drills, maybe some prep work. I wanted to focus today on the stag leg position and why we use the stag leg initially to teach people the handstand. So that's kind of what our tutorial is going to be about today. So there are many different ways to teach the handstand, but again, why we feel that the stag leg position is one of the better starting points for individuals, and why we feel it's pretty darn effective and efficient. So that's kind of what we'll look at, is that stag leg thing. So first thing is, when it comes to handstands, the prep work. I would not recommend, especially if it's a morning session, just to start handstanding. All right, you definitely want to prep the body first and prepare it. You're just setting yourself up for success before you even get upside down. So please do not skip over this prep work. First one foremost is the wrists. All right, I've said it before, I'll keep saying it. You have to prep the wrists in some way before you start your handstand practice. Try to keep it as regular as you can, and I highly suggest the wrist push-ups, especially when we're starting off to learn the handstand. The wrist push-ups are going to give us the strength that we need. So I would recommend around 10 repetitions. The handstand, the wrist push-ups, we've done many times before. There's another tutorial, I believe, just on wrist prep on its own. So please refer to that. But otherwise, yeah, maybe 2 to maybe 3 sets of your handstand. Of your wrist push-ups. Apologize. Then the hips. So definitely want to warm up the wrists. Again, they're on the hands, they're touching the floor. Then we're going to look at the hips. Now, if we're looking at the stag leg position, I will for a moment show you what I'm talking about when I'm talking about stag legs, about kicking up into stag legs. So I would place my palms down, but the stag leg kick up looks like so. I would kick up and notice the top leg is reaching in front of me as the bottom leg is down here, kind of reaching in that direction. So my feet can kind of be used to kind of counterbalance me falling sort of in and out. So it's that position. One leg this way, that way. That's the stag leg position. All right. So we want to open up the hips in this direction, in the straightforward position, because this is the direction that my hips are opening when I'm in that stag leg position. So I wouldn't worry so much about opening up the hips this way, although that's a great thing to do, maybe for another day, another tutorial, but I would open up the hips in this direction. So for example, 2 nice stretches that you can do, again, prepping the body, is these half kneeling hip flexor leans. We just lean forward. You're going to feel a nice big stretch here in the hip flexor. Press as far as you can, maybe hold for about 3 seconds. You can press yourself back, leaning into it. You could even press the top of the left foot a bit. It will again turn this on a little bit. Hips press forward, nice big stretch here, and coming back up. I just want to demonstrate again why it's so important that we're opening up the front of the hip flexor, because if you imagine here lengthening the front of the left leg, well, when I do my kick up, that's what I need to be open in order to kind of kick up into it. So again, it's that stag leg position that we're working on. And then another one is, again, just looking at the kick up to open this up would be to place the palms down and to really try to kick the left foot up to the ceiling as best you can. You might feel a dynamic stretch there, so you might get a little bit of more length here, and then you'll feel that recoil effect kind of pulling the foot back down. But 20 or 30 of those back kicks as well is another really nice way to kind of prep for your handstand work. So again, the idea of opening up the hips in this direction, that's what we're looking for. And then also to open up the chest. We're trying to bring our arms overhead without arching the back. So we want to be able to have arms overhead with a tucked tailbone. So therefore, we want to try to open up the chest, bringing the arms overhead. Very simple to use a wall. If you have a dowel, shoulder dislocations, those are a fun one we like to use. But otherwise, you can place the palms on the wall, and then you can, with bent knees, just kind of pull the chest, or press the chest through, rather, the wall. Breathe. Really try to just press it through. And hopefully in this position, we get a nice little stretch in the chest. The arms are getting overhead. So again, try to open up the chest. So we have wrists, hips opening in this direction, overhead openness and flexibility as well. So all good ways to prep the body to prepare them for your handstand work. Now the other drill too that we'll throw in there often, and we really want to try to keep in there as one of our foundational drills, is this hollow body hold. Now, again, we've done tutorials on the hollow body position, so I won't kind of demonstrate today, but I want you to again understand the why behind it. It's kind of what this tutorial is all about. The hollow body position, its goal is to try to create as much tension in the body simultaneously. So think about it as the ability to contract and engage all of your muscles at the same time and trying to maintain that tension for time while still being able to concentrate and hopefully even kind of breathe fairly calm as well while upside down. So it's important that we practice that hollow body shape first on the floor, as we will get better at creating tension in the body. We want to create tension in the body because the tenser and stiffer and more rigid that we can get the body, the easier it will be to balance on the two hands. If you put your two hands on the ground and you try to balance an object above your hands that's wobbly, it's going to be harder than if you're trying to balance an object over you that is completely stiff and still. All right? That is why we practice the hollow body drills. Please try to keep it as a focus as best you can. I know it's one of those things we do. Once we hit 60 seconds, it's like, okay, great, no more hollow body drills. Try to keep them in. I still find myself often after 5 years of arm balancing still going back to the fundamentals, the foundations, all the time. All the time. I would say every single session, there's some foundational work in everything. So please keep the hollow body drills in. So that's about 5 different things that you need to think about as far as just starting your work for your handstands. Now, let's take a look at some of the drills upside down. The first two that we want to teach individuals is we have to build strength first. Strength with locked out arms. I don't want anybody putting their hands on the ground and kicking up onto a wall if you don't have the confidence that you can maintain and hold your body weight with 2 locked out arms. So the very first drill we do is where we walk up the wall. We'll start in a plank facing this direction, and I'll walk my feet up the wall. The reason, again, we do this drill at first is to build the strength in the individual so that they can hold their weight with 2 locked out arms. So when the time comes in the next drill where we face this way and we kick up onto the wall, we have to have the confidence, once I kick up, I can maintain my body weight on my hands. If you don't have that confidence, if you have not spent time there, it's not going to be good kicking up for the first time, and those elbows bend a little bit, we go crashing down. I've seen it. It's not a good look. Build the strength first. Take time here. All right? So this drill, we would start here. I would walk my feet up onto the wall, and my goal would be to get as close to the wall as I possibly can. Maybe it's here for today. I would try to point my toes. I want to tuck my tailbone, press my hands into the floor so that my shoulders and ears get close together. I'm going to squeeze my butt, squeeze the thighs, point the toes, and I'm trying to find that hollow body shape while upside down. And then over time, we walk the hands as close to the wall as we can get there. The feet get higher and higher. You have to go to where your comfort level is. Eventually, we are trying to walk our hands so close to the wall that we're fairly vertical. And again, maintaining that hollow body shape without arching the back. We want a tucked tailbone the entire time. That helps build the strength. That's where everybody should start. If that is too challenging, maybe instead of feet on the wall, maybe feet are on a plyo box or an elevated surface, and then we have the same approach. Again, I believe those tutorials are in here. Again, today's more a little bit about the why, but that's why we do number 1, to build the strength so that you're confident before kicking up. Then we try to kick up. And even in the process of kicking up, too, again, not talking about that this much in this one, you can always kick up using a box. If kicking up from the floor is just too big of a distance for you initially, you can absolutely bring your feet to a plyo box, try to kick up onto the wall from there. But the goal of this next drill is to kick up onto the wall, hold with 2 locked out elbows, try to maintain that hollow body shape. It is important that my hands are not too far away from the wall. If they're too far away, I will have a big arch back, right? Or I'll have like a very, very banana-shaped body. If I'm too close to the wall, I'm just not going to be able to maintain. I'll kick up and I'm probably going to fall out pretty darn soon. So you want to find a good distance away from the wall, but not too much. Again, the more you practice, you'll get more comfortable. I would say for this tutorial, about a hand to maybe a hand and a half. I kind of prefer a hand length distance. Maybe for some in the beginning, a hand and a half or so. Something you're going to have to explore and play with. But I would place my palms down, again, maybe about that hand's length distance. And I want to try to walk my feet as close to my hands as I can. I'm going to lean forward, and it's that same drill of kind of kicking up. I'm going to try to lean forward, press into the floor, try to get my hips stacked over top of my hands as best as I can, and then I'll try to kick up onto the wall. And my goal is to find the hollow body position. Toes point, press through the floor, ears by shoulders, squeeze the glutes, staring at the floor, but in front of the hands, and then just holding here for time, perhaps building up to even 60 seconds. So again, not talking too much about the cues, but understanding how the first drill progresses us into the second drill. All right, we need the strength to hold ourselves with locked out arms, and again, we're practicing that hollow body shape. We're squeezing, creating as much tension here in the body. All right, you have to kind of get really strong and good there first. Then we'll look at this stag leg position. The first drill, I would say, we stand about an arm's length-ish distance from the wall. I will pivot on my feet to face this way. I'm going to place my palms down so my palm is, again, about even with my toes. There can be some forward or back here as well. We'll talk about 2 different versions of this drill, but then the important part is why stag legs. All right? The kit and caboodle, we'll talk about it here in a moment. So I'm going to place my palms down. I'll walk my feet up onto the wall again. And this time, I'm going to choose a foot to keep on the wall while I extend the other leg straight up in the air. Go over your cues. Press into the floor. Left foot here reaching up. It might reach to the center of the room as well. Press, press, press shoulders by ears, and keep your right toe on the wall, even if your brain says, I can bring it off the wall. We want to just build strength here in this particular drill. We're not bringing the toe off the wall. If we bring the toe off the wall, we might fall right away, right? So if I go here and I start to catch some balance and then I fall out, well, I just lost all that time that I could have spent upside down, building strength, getting stronger in that position, and I fell out right away. You just want to hold with the toe on the wall, try to achieve about 60 seconds. And then the same drill, once you get really comfortable first with the strength aspect and you can consistently hold for 60 seconds, then I would say it's time to try to start bringing the foot off of the wall. The key point here is, or the toe off the wall. The key point here is that you're not kicking the toe that's on the wall to get yourself off. You're rather reaching with the top foot to the center of the room, and it is the reaching of the top foot that brings the toe off the wall. It comes off for a moment, maybe you catch some hang time, then the toe comes back onto the wall. I'll do a quick little demonstration. Might be a little tough, but I think you can kind of see where the toe is from there. So again, I would walk up here onto the wall, top foot up here, the left one, it's going to reach. I'm going to go make sure, have all my cues first. Reach, reach, reach. It reaches so much that my big right toe comes off of the wall. I'm catching some balance. Maybe my fingertips press on back onto the wall. Set it back up. Press into the floor. Reach with your top leg. Stiffness in the top leg. It's reaching, it's reaching, it's reaching. The right toe comes off the wall. You're balancing. Feeling really active here in the fingers. So you can play around with balance. But please get confident in 60-second holds for strength first before you start bringing the toe off the wall. All right. Here's the important stuff. Stag legs. We want to practice in that stag leg position so much and get so comfortable there that when we kick up, we've accumulated so much time in this split leg position that we are comfortable there, and we start to be able to hold from the kick up in the middle of the room. Because we've spent so much time with it on the wall, we've made that shape with our body upside down so many times. So then when we start kicking up in the middle of the room, it's just a matter of kicking up and getting our body into the same shape that we have accumulated so much time on the wall. We use the stag leg position because in the handstand, we want to understand where we're doing the balancing. If you watch somebody's hands and fingers during the handstand, there's gripping and then relaxation for moments, and then gripping active and then maybe a pausing slight relaxation, then gripping and relaxation. The reason is because generally speaking in our handstand, we're either falling out forwards or backwards. It is rare to kind of have the falling out happening left to right. So I know a lot of times we see somebody fall and they spin out to the left or to the right, and we think maybe, oh, it is a left to right balance thing. But actually what's happening is the person's falling out that way, and then at the last moment they're spinning left to right to kind of not fall on their back. So the weight distribution and learning the balance of the handstand is a forward and backwards learning. That's the sensitivity we're trying to build in our hands. Think of this other example. The individual that walks, I think I used this at class, was the individual that walks a tightrope across the Grand Canyon. That individual that walks in the tightrope in the Grand Canyon, they're not, I don't know, but I speak for them. I don't really think they're worried about falling forwards or backwards. For them, it's more about falling left to right. Hence, they use a long balancing stick in that direction to keep their balance so they don't fall left or right. In our handstand, it's about not falling forward or back. Therefore, we use our legs as counterbalances forward and back. The feet, the legs can make macro adjustments. Foot reaches forward if you feel like you're falling back. Foot reaches back if you feel like you're falling forward. You can have play in the legs that will help you balance. I would consider the hands and the fingers more of micro adjusters or micro adjustments that are being made. This is why we teach the stag leg position, because initially it helps us with our balance as we're falling forward, we're falling backwards. It's kind of like in a handstand. We're constantly falling out of it, but we're gripping just enough and relaxing just enough. So the very subtle sway of the body is a forward/backwards sway. If you watch proficient arm balancers, they're getting so proficient that your eyes can barely detect the subtle sway or the falling forward and backwards. Again, the gripping of the fingers, the weight shifts that way. We grip a little bit. It keeps what's above the fingers from falling too much by gripping. It brings us back to center. We can relax the fingers for a moment, only to feel the sensation of, again, us moving to fall out of it. But again, the gripping is what keeps us. So it's a constant talk between your fingertips and what's going on above them to balance your body. But that is why we approach the handstand practice with the stag leg as our initial one, because of where we need to use the counterbalancing. So for beginners, this is what I feel like is a very efficient approach to learn the stag leg. Now, another drill, once you start getting proficient at both the strength in the stag leg and the balance in the stag leg, is to see if you can start switching out the legs. All right? What we're eventually going towards is to kick up in the middle of the room in a stag leg handstand, and then slowly over time bring the legs back together. So this is kind of like a first step, and you have some leeway on whether you bring the legs together and then return a foot to the wall, maybe the legs pass one another. All things that we can play with. But let's take a look at this drill. And again, a bit more advanced, so you want to get very comfortable using the wall in the stag leg position first before advancing to this next drill. So I would place the palms down. Again, find that position. One leg reaches up, one's on the wall. All right, I'm going to try to bring the left foot off the wall again. I'm going to reach a little bit. I'm going to try to switch out the legs. Whoop, whoop. Foot gets on the wall. Switch them out. Whoop, foot's on the wall. Switch them out. Whoop, foot's on the wall. Foot's on the wall. Nice. All right. So, again, that will start you catching some more time, but still being in the stag leg position. Again, all those other cues we went over. Please review all the other tutorials too that we did. Hopefully all these things start to kind of click and come together. So again, another drill you can work yourself into. And then, having gotten really proficient at all of those drills, the next one, and where you move on from there, hopefully, it goes a lot better because of the time that you put into these drills. So if you leave with a few things today, it's, again, seeing the connection of why we use this progression of drills. One helps the other, then that helps the other, it helps the other. So it's pieces. We're breaking it off into pieces. We're improving little areas, advancing when ready. So for the next drill, we are now going to try to bring our hands a good distance from the wall, maybe a good 2 feet. In fact, you could use the same approach here, right? Like so. This time, I'm going to now turn towards the wall, and I'll place my palms right here down again by the feet. So I'm going to try to kick up into a stag leg handstand, and I'm going to use the wall if needed. My foot is going to reach for the wall, so if it's there and I kick up too much, the wall will stop me, but maybe I don't need to. And the goal of this drill is to get so light at kicking up and tapping your foot onto the wall that, again, perhaps eventually we don't need it. All the cues, fingers down. Before I start to lift, I'm going to lean forward, maybe even coming up onto the tippy toe. I do want to try to get this foot as close to my hands as I can comfortably. It will prepare me to get stacked. I'm going to kick up my left foot, and my left foot is going to reach towards the wall. And I'm going to try to make it light, or maybe not use the wall at all, but if I crash, that's fine. So I'll lean forward. Left foot is going to try to kick up. Touch the wall. It's fairly soft though. Stay here in your stag leg. Or maybe you start to straighten out over time. Again, this is what we're eventually shooting for. Then I'm going to try my next rep with the other leg kicking up. Left foot stays down. I'm going to lean forward. Right foot, I'm going to try to hit the wall with my right foot, but as lightly as I can. So I'm going to lean, and I'm going to try to kick the right foot right up towards the ceiling. Kick, 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 kick. Good. All right, didn't use it that time. Realistically, this is probably what's going to happen. It's going to be more of like, boom. Okay, so I felt that was a little too much. So I'm going to go a little less this time. And then we learn, all right, that's not enough. So you start to feel what's too much. You start to feel what's not enough. You start to feel when it's in the middle ground and it's soft. Through repetitions, you will learn how much kick, how much does the foot go this way. It just takes time, and you have to mentally be present. Not the type of thing we can put on autopilot, not that type of work. We need to be very present and feeling too much of a kick, not enough kick, all those things. All right? So that's why we progress back into that next drill, because the other drills are in there. We're just trying to take one component away again. Now it's just, okay, there's a wall there. It's not needed. Maybe I use it sometimes. And then we need to kind of, Misty mentioned this at class, it's almost like we have to trick ourselves to now when we move away from the wall and we're in the middle of the room. So again, guys, I hope you kind of see why we use the stag leg to help progress us. So now when it comes time to move into the middle of the room, my goal is to kick up again and find stag legs first. Stay there and balance. Catch time in stag legs in the middle of the room. Spend time there. Then see if you can slowly begin to bring the legs together into a straight handstand. Every repetition, go over in your mind the cues. There should be the same cues as the hollow body drill, right? You're kicking up, finding stag leg first. We practice a lot of stag legs. We practice a drill where we're in stag legs and we're switching the legs back and forth. Now we're asking you to kick up into stag legs and bring the legs together. The first few drills had us holding time in a straight position. So that's the progression. Don't advance before you've gotten proficient at the previous one. This is one of the most challenging things to get anybody to do, including myself, teachers, students involved as well. So we'll now just kind of show you again one more time the progression. So again, we've done all those drills. Now it's time to do the thing. I place my palms on the ground. I try to kick up with stag legs. I go over all the cues in my head. Stag legs, they're counterbalancing me. It's macro, big adjustments. All right, I've been here on the wall. I'm going to try to bring my legs together like that drill on the wall. Slowly my legs are coming together. I'm going to point my toes. I'm going to balance. I'm going to press into the floor, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the thighs together. Breathe a little steady here. When you're ready to come down, carefully come down. Awesome. So please, guys, reach out to me if you have questions. Again, this is the approach that I learned. It's not the only approach, but I feel like it is better. I feel like it's just initially for individuals, sometimes kicking up and immediately trying to bring your legs together. It's just hard. Yes, can you handstand that way? Yeah, for sure, 100%. I just find though, like holding the stag leg position allows us to start learning balance in an easier handstand shape. In addition to your counterbalancers, it's just a lower center of gravity, right? So the higher the thing over your hands is that you're trying to balance, just physics, it's going to be harder to balance. If you lower the object, it'll be a little bit easier. Hence, the hardest handstand is the straight handstand where the toes are as far away from the hands as possible. But again, we can find that stag leg first, catch time there, get comfortable on our hands upside down without the use of a wall. Then we're just bringing the legs together. The final thing I'll say is by learning the hardest handstand, the straight handstand, all the other shapes are going to come that much easier for you if you can learn this straight handstand. So a lot of stuff there. There's a lot of information. Again, on this Patreon, we have a lot of handstand information up there. So I just want you over time to start to see the similarities. And today was to kind of clarify why we use stag legs and why we look at this progression. Now, there are a few other drills too. I kind of went through them quickly. It was more about the why behind it and look at the stag leg and why we use that. But if you have any other questions too on other drills, things like this, please get good at these foundational drills. It's going to make your handstand journey that much easier, and you should have some process. We cannot just put our hands on the ground and kick up in the air anymore. It's not going to get us. Well, it will, but it's going to take a long, long time that way. Again, having a process behind it, very helpful. Thank you guys so much. Questions, reach out to me. Otherwise, later. Peace.